I know we like to
that
visit.
gavel sometimes.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Excuse me. That's why it's there.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our April 21st Board of Commissioners meeting. First item is roll call. Roll call would show all commissioners are present. Please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item is approval of the agenda. Mike, any additions, corrections? Anyone else?
Under F1, you have another set of minutes from our meeting on April 7th, which
Okay.
I think are ready for your approval as well. Under item I2, you're going to have additional information because the bond sale was completed yesterday, and you'll have those results. But other than that, I think everything's the same.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the minutes should reflect that we were in Melrose, not at the courthouse.
Okay. Good catch. All right. Anything else? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Johnson, did you have something, or
No,
was that
I
just
was
a second?
I was just part of the mix.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Our next item is a presentation and an award. Mike, are you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we want to recognize Rita Lohrmeyer, who is our county recorder today. She was recently given an award by the Minnesota Association of County Officers, which she has entered into MACO's honor roll. And Chad is here with Rita. I'm going to let Chad represent the award that she received a couple of weeks ago.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chad Martini with Property Services. Really pleased today to share and present Rita this award that was presented to her by the Minnesota Association of County Officers. Rita was recognized and has been named to the MACO Honor Roll. I'm just reading from the presentation at the MACO conference. This distinction is awarded to individuals whose leadership, service, and commitment have made a lasting impact on county government in Minnesota. Rita's recognition reflects her exceptional contributions to statewide operations and her unwavering dedication to improving county services. And just personally working with Rita every day, and specifically working with property owners, Rita and her team in that recorder's office saves property owners thousands of dollars every year in making sure their legal documents and transaction of property and other things happen efficiently. People don't always see that behind the scenes, but getting these legal documents corrected sure makes life a lot easier when, mom and dad pass and property is passed on to heirs. So with that, I'd like to present Rita with her award for the second award. Rita, go. Oh. Here you go, Rita.
Thank you.
You want to say anything? Do you guys want to hear from Rita?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You bet.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. First, I'd like to extend a thank you to my staff for all the hard work and dedication they do for me as the recorder. And I'm also humbled to be recognized by an organization made up of so many dedicated county professionals. This award reflects collective work we do across all 87 counties, and it's not just my own efforts. And I've been fortunate to serve alongside colleagues who care deeply about public service and who continually strive to strengthen county operations statewide.
Good. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Rita, for your dedication and service to the county. Anybody
Miss-
else have any?
Yeah, just
Commissioner
really
Clark?
quickly, Mr. Chair, just thinking about all the digitizing you needed to do and your staff needed to do since we were, how do I say this? We were behind immensely. And you and your staff, I know that wasn't mentioned in the award, but just the amount of effort that took, I know it's been several years now, but that really showed commitment and perseverance and the work being done for our community and making it so that we're meeting people where they're at. So that was a big deal, and you and they have done a really great service. But that was a big, heavy lift, so just want to acknowledge that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rita.
Mr. Chairman, it's always nice to see an employee blush when we recognize them.
Yeah.
That was worth it for me. Thank you.
For me?
Thanks, Rita.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item is our consent agenda. There is 8 items on the consent agenda. Anyone wishing to pull or comment on any of the 8? F8, just for the public, is usually our claims paid. So from March 28th to April 10th, the county's paid out $5.5 million. So there's a lot of dollars that change hands in Stearns County. Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the consent
Thank you.
agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Johnson. Thank you, Commissioner Persky. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, administration. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item under administration is to consider an ordinance that would limit the taking of deer with shotgun rather than rifle. As you all know, the state of Minnesota eliminated the statewide shotgun zone last year during the session, and in that same legislation, they authorized counties to adopt ordinances that limit the type of firearms that may be used to hunt deer during the gun season to shotguns. And we all know that season doesn't begin until until November. But if we adopt a change, we need to be able to notify the DNR the first week in May so that it gets published in the deer hunting rule book for 2026. You need not take any action if you want to stick with the state law, which again eliminated the statewide shotgun zone. A resolution has been provided for you if you want to take an action that kind of explains why you're not going to adopt an ordinance. Or, of course, you can adopt the ordinance. So those are the 3 options before you. I think that's all that needs to be said. You held the public hearing. You had, I think we counted 69 people that,
Yeah, I think 54, I think
Okay.
were on the list that,
we had a
recorded.
we had a well-attended public hearing. We've had a email address that people can send in their thoughts, which information has then been passed on to the board. You had a couple of correspondences from the state that I've provided, so I think it's time for the board to take action or don't take action.
okay? The wishes of the board? Carol?
Mr. Chair, members, really want to thank the public, the thoughtfulness of people who attended the meeting at Melrose, people who have reached out to us online, reached out to us in person. Just the care and thought about safety, about pride in being able to enjoy this pastime that's so important to so many Minnesotans. And actually thinking about little girls too. I remember the first time I picked up a shotgun, I was not a little girl, but I remember that kickback. It was like I was worried about the kickback. It is real, right? I started off a few years ago in one place on this issue, and after seeing the data from other states, after seeing what many different counties in our state have done, after listening to our people, I have moved from saying, let's stay with shotgun only, to going with state law. I do think depending upon where other members are, the resolution that was drafted about why we're going with state law would be a useful useful thing to help the public understand. But the reasons for why this was done 80 years ago are just very different than where we're at now. We cannot minimize the understandable worry and passion and concern about safety, and that's true with firearms no matter what. So depending upon where members are, I would certainly move approval of the one that would explain staying with state law. And I guess my other reason for going with state law is the DNR has always been the one that's doing statewide hunting and fishing. It's still a little ticked off at the legislature for putting us in this place, frankly.
So you're saying number 2? is
Yes,
the
I
one?
would move approval of that, at least for discussion purposes.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Further discussion? Commissioner Bertram?
Mr. Chairman, don't know that we need a resolution, but certainly wouldn't oppose it. I think the more Woodrow Wilson said when he was president, the less you say, the less you have to explain. I don't know that we have to get too deep into the woods. I mean, what we do or don't do should speak for itself, but I wouldn't oppose doing that. I think everybody's pretty unanimous that everybody I've heard from, one, it wasn't appropriate that the counties got put in this situation. There's several counties today around us that are also taking a vote. Two, loud and clear, what I've heard is it's not the gun, it's the person using the gun. And so that is what it's going to end up being. But if we don't do anything, which I support, not doing anything, but following state law, then it's on the state, number one. Number two, we can reconsider this. If something happens between now and next year, I think, again, what everybody agrees is there is a chance for things to happen. And the statistics we heard were, 1 out of whatever. Well, that's all fine, but what if that one is my son or my wife or me or some other people? So one doesn't make it right, and unfortunately, hopefully we prevent that, but I'm certainly open to following state law for a lot of reasons, which would allow both rifles and shotguns. And one of those many reasons, somebody asked me a couple of months ago, how do you make a decision on a tough issue like this? And I said, well, obviously in my prior public service, we had to do this a lot, but you basically do the fact finding, you base your decision on your gut, and then the most important part of that is you listen to the public. And the public has been loud and clear. They want to try this, so certainly. And last, the Mileys are here. I certainly want to help Mrs. Miley be able to hunt until she's 90, so that's another reason that that's why I support this. So,
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also support allowing rifles throughout Stearns County, as stated in the state law. I support the resolution for a reason that Commissioner Clark brought up, and that is that it suggests very strongly that it's the DNR that's responsible for, as the regulatory agency for deer hunting, all hunting and fishing regulations, and is charged with balancing healthy wildlife population, sustainable recreation, and public safety. It's not the responsibility of the county. It's the responsibility of the DNR. That's part of the resolution, and I think the state needs to understand that, because they didn't even allow the DNR to participate in these conversations. Having said that, I also think it's important for the public to know not only did we have 250 or 300 people in Melrose, the preponderance of which were in favor of allowing rifles throughout the county, but we are one of multiple counties that are dealing with this issue. And as I tracked it, the yellow on my state of Minnesota are all those counties who have supported the state law as it stands now. There are 8 counties that decided to go shotgun only, and there are 6 that are still deliberating. In researching this issue, I think it's important to emphasize the fact that there is a lot of evidence out there that says this is the right move. Wisconsin moved in this direction 13 years ago to see incidents of accidents decreasing over time. We know that ballistics technology has changed significantly such that it's simply not true that shotguns are safer than rifles anymore. I went back and looked at all of the 43 incidents between 2015 and 2024. Six of those 43 incidents were with rifles, 4 were unknown, and 33 were with shotguns. In terms of those 43 incidents, again, only 11 of them had anything to do with deer hunting. The rest had to do with rabbits and waterfowl and coyotes, et cetera. It's really important to know that our state legislators, when they passed the law, they did the research. They went back to 2005 and looked at a huge study that the state of Pennsylvania did. They looked at all of the evidence since that time, and we did the same thing. We had all that evidence in front of us. I think the important thing here is to trust the people who have done the work. Commissioner Bertram is absolutely right when he says we need to listen to the public. We did that, and the public too. We were amazed to find out all the research that they had done and all the study that they had done, and congratulate them for doing that. But this isn't simply done on a whim. It's done because it's the right thing to do for today, because things have changed. Hunting is safe. It's up to the individual hunter to do it absolutely in the right way.
Thanks, Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Persky?
you know, this wouldn't be such an emotional issue and such a challenging issue if there wasn't another side to it. And I guess I want to at least let that other side be heard, because I've heard from that other side. I want to say that I've been a hunter for quite a long time. Since my brother came home from Vietnam, I've hunted over 60 deer hunting seasons. But I'm not sure why the DNR necessarily put this issue on the counties if they had no concerns about the rifles. Why did they do that? And the reason they did that was they wanted us to make the decision about public safety. Why else would they give it to us? And to me, it is an issue of public safety. If I take a look at the emails and the personal conversations that people came to me with, I had 28 people come to me wishing us to keep a shotgun, and only 13 people wishing us to change it to rifle. That's the people that came to me. Yes, we did have that public hearing, okay? But the people that came to me, they are concerned about their safety, the safety of the family, and the safety of the property. When we had that public hearing, there was a good number of people, and they were speaking in support of it. We had 69 people speak, or on your list. Steve, I was sitting right next to you, and I wrote down the names of all the people that were to speak. But there were 14 or so people that didn't speak. And why didn't they speak? Because they were intimidated by that crowd. The clapping and the cheering. People were asked to speak, they'd say pass. People would ask to speak, they'd say pass. Why didn't they speak? Well, they didn't speak because, again, they felt inhibited. So we didn't get to hear their voice. I've got a few other things that are very, quite concerning about that, because over the past 83 years, we've had very few injuries and accidents with guns, okay? And why is it? Perhaps some of it is because it was shotgun, okay? And so there was a reason for us not to change back to rifle, because there was an added benefit from there in the first place. There are also some important issues that we didn't talk about that have changed since 1942, and that is the number of hunters. That is the amount of acreage that's actually able to be hunted. The number of hunting acreage has considerably been reduced since that time, so you've got a higher concentration of hunters, and plus the proliferation of houses in the rural areas, okay? And just talk about basic ballistics. We didn't talk about basic ballistics. a 30-06 Springfield can shoot a distance of 2.5 to 2.8 miles, okay? A shotgun has the ability to shoot a little bit less than a mile, okay? Ethical hunters, when they're shooting their rifles, will shoot 300 to 500 yards. That's going to change the way we hunt here in this, in this county. The shotgun hunters shoot usually, you know, good visual range, 75 to 125 yards. Maximum shot maybe with a sabot bullet would be 200 yards. But again, that bullet is not going to travel over a mile, whereas with the rifle, it's going to travel twice that distance. When I go out around Sartell on opening weekend, all around the city, it's dotted with orange jackets, okay? Now those folks are gonna have rifles that shoot 4 times the distance that the shotguns were shooting. To me, that becomes an issue. Also, changing the distance of shooting from approximately 100 yards to 400 yards is gonna change the way we hunt, but not necessarily for the better. Because usually you sit on your stand and you wait for the deer to come to you, and the deer is close. You get to enjoy nature while you're sitting there and waiting. You watch the deer, and it gets close enough, you shoot. But now, being able to shoot 300, 400 yards, that's going to change the hunting. And so the hunter that's watching an animal coming towards them may be shot by another hunter. Okay, putting this into perspective too about fair chase, it does change again the way we do hunt. You know, at what point does it become we're hunting deer, and at what point does it become we're killing deer? Many of the hunters, and I know there's some that are in here in this room, they're skilled hunters. They take their hunting seriously. They're worried about smell, they're worried about motion, they're worried about making sound. They enjoy all the nature around them. It's more than just seeing that animal and killing that animal. In the process here, we also got some information I gave you out from the National Rifle Association. And National Rifle Association also said that one of the choices in populated areas is using shotgun, because they feel that is the way to do it. Now, I could talk more and more about this, and we could fight about it, but we know which direction it's going to go. But I did want to have you hear the point that some folks are living with. They're living with the fear of their family. They're living in the fear of their property, because those bullets can't be necessarily controlled. We would not be taking away any of the rights that people have had for 80 years. We would continue to hunt and enjoy the hunting that we're doing right now. But it's going to change. And I do want to say I was pleased to hear the support for hunter training, the support for bringing youth into this, and the practices in the field, you know, elevated stands and those types of things. But I just wanted to make sure that, again, from the majority of people that I heard from, their fear is for the safety of themselves, their families, and their properties. And I want them to be safe, and I want them to feel safe. That's what I've got to say.
Thank you. And I would just add, you know, serious hunters are going to be safe with whichever weapon they use. Unfortunately, it's always that 5% that probably, you know, ruins it. The one thing that stuck out at that meeting is the person who mentioned the 90-10 incident, where we tend to make an ordinance or a ruling based on the actions of the minority. So, you know, and this would be probably, you know, the same kind of incident where you get a lot of people in support of giving the rifle a try, but then, you know, if you say shotgun only, well, now they're not really getting that opportunity to say, you know, good hunters are going to choose the weapon in the environment they're in. I understand Commissioner Persky, you know, there's a lot of dynamics that have changed, but I think Stearns County as a whole is very similar to other counties in Minnesota, as probably as well as Wisconsin. And again, you know, it's probably the same 5-10% that have caused issues with any firearm that would cause probably the issue if they use a rifle as well, in my opinion. Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, and Commissioner Persky, I appreciate you reinforcing the safety worries brought up so by many. I mean, regardless of whether somebody was advocating for being able to choose or staying with shotgun only, safety was forefront. And as you just brought up, Mr. Chair, the number of people who were, sorry, it was actually you, Commissioner Persky, the focus on training. It actually made me think about the reduction of gun violence, that actually a lot of people could learn from the people who were speaking about how they get responsible training, how they think about it, what they do. Maybe there's hope for other conversations. Clearly, if the biggest concern is making sure that we are absolutely minimizing the impact to human life, perhaps we would be doing bow hunting as you do only, because we've heard issues with the worry is about the archery range. When I served in the legislature on the other side of the Mississippi, there was a lot of concerns with immediate neighbors about target shooting, and what was done to try to minimize, again, the thoughts. This kind of goes back to being good neighbors. A couple other things is I think for the public, we need to remind them that property owners get to choose. If you want shotgun only on your property, it can be shotgun only. This gives an opportunity. And then just very quickly, a couple other things. The DNR was proposing a rule. It got stopped in the governor's office. It became political. The governor didn't want to touch it. I understand that. There's a lot of big emotions around this. And making this big of a change, that's why it ended up being a legislative change, but they did the backdoor thing. But it was coming up all the way through. And even now, the DNR gives special permits to be able to use rifles. And they use rifles because they are cleaner kills. And if culling is part of this, that's part of the reason for doing it. So I just think it's important that everybody hears we care deeply about safety. And again, I think we're all irked, again, by the legislature foisting us on this, because if they really believe this was fully the way to go, just because we were allowed doesn't mean they should say, hey, give us this choice. So let's just make sure that, people are really being responsive and listening and learning and being good stewards in the hunting they do. And again, for me, this properly belongs under the state, not under the county.
Commissioner Johnson.
Just a couple things. I, too, appreciate Commissioner Persky's bringing up the other side of the issue, because that's a real issue. I mean, a farmer on a combine might be worried during deer hunting season. I can understand that. But in terms of the way things have changed, you talk about the way people hunting has changed. There are more people who are using elevated stands. There are limited drives as people hunt these days. Commissioner Clark mentioned property owners. 97% of the property in Stearns County is private, and those property owners have the right to tell people that they can or can't hunt on their land and what weapons they can use. And that's really important, because the people really do get to decide. The whole concept of distance, I think, is a little bit confusing, because we now have handguns that have extended length and are used for deer hunting, and that certainly has an impact on distance. And shotguns are designed to shoot, quite frankly, further than a mile and a half now. I think as we look at the reasons why there are accidents, it's things like people swinging on game. A firearm fell because of an insecure rest. Someone put their rifle or their shotgun in the backseat of their car, threw their coat on it. The safety was off. They grabbed the coat and the gun went off and hit their buddy's leg. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons, and most of them are related to the hunter. And I think if hunters really take to heart the issues of fear, as well as the training, as well as doing this right, that's the answer. And that's what the DNR should really be promoting at this point. I also agree with Commissioner Clark that the governor's office did not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, left it up to the legislature, and there it's our decision. But it's really the decision of the property owners at this point. So I'm in support of the resolution and acknowledging the various aspects that are laid out in this resolution, as I said earlier. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Randy, you want to do a roll?
Sure. Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Persky,
Nay.
Commissioner Bertram,
Aye.
Commissioner Notch,
Aye.
passes 4-1.
Thank you. So the motion carries 4-1. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank everybody for the respectful conversation.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky. All right. Next item will be G2, Airport Authority Annual Report. I think we have some guests here that will be doing that.
We have Mr. Toll, who is the airport director, and Mr. Myers, the airport commission chair, and I'll let them introduce themselves and get started.
Thank you, Commissioners. Bill Towell, the Airport Director, St. Cloud Sky Central Airport.
Brian Myers, Board Chair, St. Cloud Sky Central Airport.
Marshall Graham's Treasurer, St. Cloud Sky Central Airport.
So thanks for the opportunity today. We're really excited about the progress we've been making at the airport. So today, I'm going to go through this presentation. Feel free to ask questions of any of the three of us as we go, and we'll get started here. So today's topics, we're going to talk about the impact of the Sky Central Airport on the region, benefits to the Airport Authority designation, strategic initiatives, revenue-generating initiatives, budget challenges, financial overview, and next steps. So impact on the region. We've been in the current location since 1970, and in 2025, we had 40,500 operations, so that's takeoffs and landings. So that's an average of 110 per day. And we have Allegiant, Sun Country, the military, medical, corporate, private, all utilizing the St. Cloud Airport. There's 104 based aircraft there, so that means that their home would be the St. Cloud Sky Central Airport. And it supports 395 local jobs, plus 80 more at the Army National Guard support facility. And the last time we did an economic study, there was a $50 million economic impact. We're in the process of doing a second, or maybe it's a third or fourth, going way back, economic study to see what impact the airport is having today. The benefits of becoming an authority, it was largely driven by the business community who saw that it was a greatly underutilized asset. And it was a method to improve infrastructure and services by having a dedicated board that was committed solely to that airport. The airport helps create a solid foundation to support economic growth, helping all counties grow. And I think one of the things that's really important to keep in mind, whether it's Blattner, whether it's Coburn's, whether it's Anderson, whether it's Millerburn, I mean, the corporate jet travel in and out of St. Cloud is really important. And I think sometimes people think that corporate flight is just simply for the CEO, et cetera, but it isn't. That's how people that work at Blattner or Anderson or any of these companies can go to their kids' ball games at the end of the evening, that they can have a family life, and it has a big impact on employees in this region. So I think that's something to really keep in mind. So when the airport was with the city, obviously it was inhibiting the pace of progress, and so therefore the county and the city negotiated the formation of the Airport Authority, which is an independent board that benefits the three counties and the airport. And it manages to maximize airport potential as a regional asset. And one of the things I think when you fly in and out of St. Cloud on Allegiant that you find is the people that are flying in and out of there are from everywhere. They're clearly, the majority are not City of St. Cloud residents. The majority are from the greater three counties and all across the state of Minnesota. And so since we've become an air authority, we've had a notable uptick in necessary improvements I'll go over those in a little bit. And we've been, as an airport authority, we're authorized to execute agreements, acquire property, and operate the airport with taxing authority. And we know there was a whole lot of controversy over that. We did implement the levy this last year, and we're proceeding with that over time, hopefully. So the city's commitment is $620,000 annually for operations for 10 years. And then the local option sales tax of $200,000 for capital from 2018 to 2038. So what's happened since we formed the airport authority? Well, the thing I think we're most proud of is the AMT school. The tech college and the airport authority, the MAC was involved, the governor's office was involved, a lot of Delta, Cirrus, Sun Country, thank you. All were involved in getting the AMT school, and that's the airplane mechanic program, and it's full. Classes start this fall, and then right now they're in the process of building the classrooms and the hangar that'll begin this next year at the airport. But the first year, there's two airplanes that have been obtained for the students to start working on, and the program is full. And yesterday I got a call from someone who wants to do the first internship of a student coming out of that program. And that's a local business that I think really exciting. So the other thing is we went to the legislature and got bonding and other funding from FAA totaling $6 million to replace the ILS and approach lighting system. The systems there had been around since the 80s and kind of a duct tape type solution. The staff been working their butts off to keep it working all these years. And MnDOT Aviation had really wanted us to get that fixed, get that improved. And so we're in the process of construction over this year and next on that. And then we also received a federal grant for new air traffic control tower radio replacement, and then grading and drainage project for $900,000. And then we also conducted a solar study to potentially reduce our electricity costs to zero. One of the things we found out is the federal incentives have gone away, and so that's not a viable option at this point. One of the things that we are desperately trying to do and are successful at is increasing revenue. And so as you can see, parking revenue in 2023, that was the first year we initiated it, was $214,000, and in 2025 it's up to $306,000. One of the things about airports across the nation is a major part of their revenue does come from parking revenue. And two things happened with this. One is we were sitting with the likelihood of having to probably invest over $1 million in a new parking lot because we didn't have room. People were parking out on the county road prior to implementing parking fees. And since we've done that, we've got adequate parking. So if you want to fly out of St. Cloud Sky Central, you're always going to have a place to park. And the good news is most of the local people are getting rides to the airport, and so they're avoiding the fee altogether. So a lot of these fees are paid from outside the region, so that's great. We also put annual escalators in all of our agreements for leases, so that hadn't been done. So annually, revenue's going up at the rate of inflation. Also, the private hangar development area, there was $1 million put in for infrastructure right before the airport authority was formed. We've taken advantage of that, and there's been two new hangars built in addition to the T hangar that we built because there was a huge waiting list for hangars. And so we were able to get primarily, 98.5% federal and state funding to do that. And so that's generating an additional $50,000 of revenue, and the new private hangars, $45,000. And there's a total of $200,000 when it's fully built out of additional revenue. So we're excited about that. Our challenges, we operate a 24/7 facility with 8 employees. And when in transitioning from the city to the airport authority, it did eliminate our ability to utilize some city resources, so the cost for finance, legal, payroll, HR is about $175,000 per year, so those additional expenses we have. And then, obviously, to remain solvent, we need to maintain $2 million in cash reserves as we get these federal grants, because we have to advance fund them, so very important. One of the things I think it's important, and we've talked about this before, but what has happened with the purchasing power of the revenue that we do have? One of the big issues that we have at the airport is a lot of fixed revenue that's not inflation adjusted versus variable expenses, obviously, with employee costs and costs of equipment going up, et cetera. So we're victims of inflation like everyone else. So if you look at the purchasing power of the 620, by the time that runs out, it's only $400,000 of purchasing power. So that's a big deal. And then, so as we look at this, purchasing power is one of the biggest challenges we've had. The $1 million we get from the FAA, we got that starting in 2000. In 2025 dollars, that's only worth $530,000. And then the sales tax funding of $200,000. By the time that runs out, that'll only be worth $116,000. So you can see the challenges with those revenue streams. One of the things that was very important to think about is our heavy equipment is all mostly 20-plus years old. It came in during the Oberstar era. Jim Oberstar, the congressman, was chair of the Transportation Committee, blessed St. Cloud with a lot. But all that stuff's over 20 years old now, and now a broom blower costs $750,000. Takes 4 of them to run the St. Cloud Airport. So our fiduciary responsibility is to safety. When you're flying in and out of the St. Cloud Airport, we have to make sure you're safe, and we have to make sure that the ice is off the airport, snow is off the runways. Very important as we do this, and our staff, Bill and team, have done an amazing job of maintaining the equipment, even considering how old it is. Here you can see our operating budgets have gone up over time, but you can also see the deficit revenue to expenditures that I earlier talked about. And then our capital investment grants received, because I think this is really important. In the last 6 years, the FAA has granted us $13,260,000, which is 95% of our capital expenditures. The state, $332,750, and then local of $332,750. So you can see the leverage that local dollars have with the federal government, particularly. So our next step, we really want to continue to communicate well with you all, our counties and our city. We've been having these meetings, going through this. You're the third one we've done. We've got Benton County next. And, we did discuss the levy. $115,000 of that went to operating, $885,000 to capital. The impact is on a $200,000 home is $4.41 per year, and on a $300,000 home, $721. So there you have it. Questions?
Great. Thanks, Brian, for that. Any question, Commissioner Johnson?
I have a question about the parking revenue.
Okay.
It looks like it went up about 15% per year over a 3-year period, 45% increase.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a function of increasing fees, or is it a function of more people parking?
Yes, it's twofold. One, we've increased the parking fees over time. We're at $11 per day right now. It started out, we were at 6?
Yep.
Yeah, we were at 6. So that was a change. And the number of flights, I think it's about $1,600 per flight that people going out of Allegiant, that generates about $1,600 of revenue every flight. So as the flights go up, obviously the parking revenue goes up. So Allegiant has increased its number of flights. We still have only 2 destinations, Punta Gorda and Mesa, but the number of flights has increased.
Thank you.
Commissioner Persky?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Thank you, Brian, for the presentation. We were out in D.C. this past week with the APO, and we were talking about increasing that passenger fee that comes back to
Yep.
to the airports. Could you explain that a little bit?
Bill, would you go ahead?
Yeah, right now, currently, the FAA, through legislation, regulatory, airports are allowed to charge $4.50 per enplanement, so per every person that gets on a commercial airliner, which then we can pump back into capital projects. My professional organization, the American Association of Airport Executives, a great lobbying firm that's or advocacy group that's out in DC. They're trying to increase that, right? That, as Brian mentioned, that has not kept pace with inflation. That's been in place since about 2000 as well. So for the last 26 years, 25 years, it's remained at $4.50. And the idea there is we just can't, we need more money for capital improvements, especially big airports, right? It's not quite as important to airports like St. Cloud. But when you think about Minneapolis and Chicago and things like that, they really make a lot of money off that passenger facility charge. So that PFC, trying to get it to $9 or some number, and then also have it indexed with inflation or some kind of escalator. The airlines are a pretty heavy lobby group as well. So it is, as much as we've had it on the docket for the last 10 or 12 years, it's very challenging to get that passed, but it would be great if that came into fruition.
Right, and we've been working on that, I think, the last 3 or 4 years in discussion, and we can't seem to, get the attention. And we have opposition from the big operators, the airlines. But I will tell you, talking to other commissioners from throughout the country, they want to see that happen because they are in the same situation where they're short of funding. And again, this has been at $4.50 for 20 years. And, going to $9 would make a significant difference to the airports. So, yeah, and so if we can collectively continue to push that politically, I think we can maybe get it to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Persky, too, for bringing all that up and for your advocacy there. I want to thank you all and the board for your service. This is not easy. Wondering if you could talk a little bit about, because it seems like understandably the city, you had on the slide and talked briefly about the city's commitment to operations for the 10 years. That seems like it's kind of yes, maybe no. Can you talk a little bit more about where they're at and being able to fund that? Because that was clearly a part of it. And then also, not surprisingly, the levy is really a big deal to all of us. Can you talk about kind of what the board's conversations have been about minimizing that while recognizing that's a tool that you're needing to use?
Yeah, so I don't know, do you want to handle the first part of that question?
Yep. What was the first part of the question again?
About the city operation in the 10 years.
Yeah, and right now it sounds like when we have discussions with the city, they are certainly committed to $620,000. I know we've talked to them a little bit about potentially increasing that, some kind of index of inflation or something like that. I don't think they're going to go beyond 10 years. It's a little gray right now in terms of where that 10 years started. So we're negotiating 1 year, plus or minus in there. And that's also going to be with services, police and fire and things like that. I know Chair Myers has been really working hard with them on trying to get that agreement in place. They've now with the new mayor, I think it's going to be, we'll be able to sit down with them and really hash that out.
Okay, thank you.
And on the levy, we have, as a board, been discussing that. And I think, one of the things that was discussed in the white paper with the 3 counties and the city is the idea of some sort of a levy cap. And, we've hashed that out. There's some debate between it. One of the issues, our budget works the same as your budget, okay? So we look at, we have a public hearing process. We go through the same process as everybody else in terms of that budget. And it's taken very seriously as far as how much should we have to do a levy, how much should that be? I think one of the concerns was, okay, there's the potential for that to go from $1 million to $5 million overnight. Well, I don't know conceivably what would cause that. I really don't. I mean, just like You don't do that with the county budget. I don't know why we would do that with some gross number. I don't understand how we'd ever get there. I think one of the fears that we have on our end is because our fiduciary responsibility is to safety, is let's say that some horrific thing did happen and we did have to go from $1 million to $1.5 million or $2 million or whatever. I don't know. I mean, who knows what could happen, but if something conceivably did happen that was catastrophic, as a municipality, we do have to have the ability to raise the funds to deal with it. That was what was set up when the authority was set up. So we certainly don't have a problem coming back and talking and discussing and saying, hey, here's the justification, here's why we need to do it. But at the same time, we have to be careful with language because of the fact, and we actually are having legal counsel look at it because we want to make sure that we don't commit to something that really, it'd be like if the state of Minnesota tied the county's hands with what you could do from your standpoint of your budget. We've got to be careful with that regard. So, but we take it, I think, every bit as seriously as you do. I mean, I don't like raising taxes. You don't like raising taxes. That's where we are in terms of debate at this point. Marshall, do you have anything?
Well, and really quickly, Mr. Chair and Chair Myers, I very much appreciate it. It's actually really different than the county because it's like one department. It's like one piece of it. So we have to look at the huge levers, and honestly, we have to look at what you all do. And I know that there's concern not just from this board, but others about there being no electeds on there. Nobody actually is directly accountable to the taxpayers. And again, I'm asking you these questions as somebody who has supported and continues to support the airport authority. So I really, it's like what's being done to minimize, and that's important because I know that particularly for some members of this board, there ends up being questions about how broad does the reach really go, et cetera. Again, for me, when I look at it, our county and our region is only as strong as what all of our communities are, and this is critical. This is an important function, and you don't have anybody who is going to send sex offenders that we have to find a place to live. You don't have anybody who's going to tell you have to pay thousands of dollars a person for commitments. I mean, we have a whole lot of costs we cannot control. We also have the costs that you're talking about that, like with our broader infrastructure. So this is key, it's important, and this was my softball question about to help others actually understand and hear about what is being done to help minimize that. And by talking about those other components, I think that's helpful.
One other point there is we've have a strategic plan. We're in the process of revising it. A lot of the initiatives you've seen were in that strategic plan as far as raising revenue. So that is our number one thing that we work on after safety. Safety is number one, raising revenue is number two, so in a fair manner. So that's huge. Marshall?
To the question of what is being done, generating more revenue across the board. The parking revenue, making it easier for tenants to tenant at the airport. I mean, two corporate hangars. Would they be here if it was still controlled by the city? Maybe, maybe not. Or would they have built there? Who knows? And then third, just increasing traffic, increasing employments. To Bill's point, the 450, that is still revenue. We are doing things to try and increase traffic, increase what Allegiant will fly in here. It's just a lot of that stuff is up in the air and not at our control, but that is a part of what we're doing.
Bill, did you have some?
Yeah, and just to add on to that is, we are a highly regulated organization. There's not a lot of things, not a lot of decisions that are made outside of things that we need, are required to do per the FAA. When there is a dusting of snow out there, we need to move that. It's a little bit different than probably city, county, something like that. We are required to, remove any contaminants that are out there. So even a dusting, and you think of the time and effort and gas and, wear and tear on the equipment. I mean, and that equipment's got to work when it's got to work. So those kind of things, I know that this commission, they're not doing a lot of nice to haves out there. It's all really based on the regulatory stuff.
Yeah, and, as being part of it when this first started, yeah, we can look back, there was a couple things we probably could have did different, which, like escalator on the city's portion, stuff like that. But, in reality, I think we all come to consensus, we have to support it because it's there. And I guess I appreciate it that when you guys heard the rumblings, you came forward and says, okay, let's talk this through, so we could kind of come to this consensus where we are now and move it forward. So thank you for that, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In terms of accountability, I think the $12 million spent over the last 3 to 4 years on these strategic initiatives is proof of accountability and growth and necessity and help for the community. It's quite impressive, actually. A question about the levy, as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but because of the 600-some thousand that the city is committing, St. Cloud residents aren't paying the tax, right?
They're already paying the tax. That's the 620 that they're paying.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But they're not paying an additional
Right.
airport levy. Yeah. Okay. That just needs to be made clear,
Yep.
I think. It's interesting to me. I spoke with a member of the board of MSP, and it's interesting to me that they don't have a tax levy. But the reason they don't have a tax levy is because they have acres of parking, because they have major airlines that are spending millions of dollars to come into that hub. That's something that we don't have here. That makes us different. And therefore that levy, is really essential. And it's to be decided at some other time what that amount is or whether there's a cap. About 20 years ago, I remember reading an article about jet engines becoming smaller and more powerful and the development of regional airports and their contribution to the economy, to education, to industry in that community, as well as just plain old transportation. I think this is a really important asset. I think you guys are doing a very good job. And I think it's up to the community to support you in any way we can.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Persky?
Mr. Chair, in regards to the levy, you cited it was going to be on a $300,000 home around $7.20.
Seven.
Now, we're a tri-county airport, and so these levies are out to Benton County and Sherburne County, and that's entirely across all of Sherburne County?
Except for people in the city of St. Cloud. Remember,
Correct, right.
anybody that's in the 3 counties but's in the city is not paying additional because they're already paying the 620.
Okay, yeah, and I just want to make it clear that the other counties are putting in as well. It's just not Stearns County that's.
Oh, totally.
That's doing this. And just want to stress the importance of the 2027 budget, Randy. We know that that's going to be a challenge, and we're very concerned about those dollars.
Commissioner Bertram?
Mr. Chairman, and what percentage are we on that point? Isn't it 70-some% of the 3 counties?
I don't think it's quite that high, but
It just feels
it's
like-
over 50, though. It's over 50, yeah.
Okay, over 50%. So thank you for being here. I think it was Winston Churchill that said, the further forward you want to see, the further back you have to look. You wouldn't be here today if we didn't go through what we went through. I wasn't here when this was approved. I would not have approved this. I lobbied against what we're doing. I support the airport, but I think we should have done it different. I'm not on any joint powers board. I've never been on the county or any place else, city, state, where it's 100% of the joint authority board that has to make a decision on what has to change or happen. So that was problematic from day one, in my opinion. But again, you're here. I personally support you. Am I very concerned? Absolutely. For 2 reasons. One, this sounds great, but the first thing I learned when I was on Planning Commission, they taught me was, don't look at the people in front of you, look at the people after them. So if an applicant's asking for something, say, well, geez, the farmer farmed there for 50 years, he should be able to build his house by the feedlot. Well, that's great. 5 years, farmer dies, now a city resident lives there, now there's problems. So I look at you, I don't see a problem anymore, and not as much. You got the message, you're here. And so that's good, but what about the next board? What about the next executive director? What about the next commissioner? And so these things evolve, and that's what we have to be, I think, sensitive to. And what I ask you, and I'll continue to ask you, is be sensitive to your authority. And you've shown me that you want to be, and then that helps that. You have to remember, you made several comments, Mr. Myers, about the number of residents that are out of the area that are using the airport. I use it once a year, and pleasurable experience. I ask people, as you've heard me say before, I'm curious where you're coming from. A bunch of them come from Elk River or towards the cities, which is great, but they zip down 10, they zip in the airport, they zip back. They're not coming into the community, they're not coming into the county to benefit the county, they're coming to benefit themselves, and that's great. And when they benefit themselves, they're benefiting the airport, and that's great. But the number of residents that do not use this airport and never will use this airport, and yet we're financially supporting it, we need to be sensitive to that. And we need to be sensitive that we have Bruton, Paynesville, Sauk Center, again, different level airport. They're different than you are, and certainly to Commissioner Johnson's point, you will never be MSP, and you shouldn't be. That's not your niche. So you can't compare yourself to them, to Paynesville, Belgrade, Bruton, and you certainly can't compare yourself to MSP. So that's just the reality of it. When I served on the council, I served on the airport committee. God bless. I mean, the federal funding is unbelievable. I mean, 95% on these projects, which a lot of people don't know. That's good, but you are getting a lot of revenue in a lot of different ways, and you need that revenue. I get that. Continue to capitalize on that and do what you need to do with that. The authority with, the city, the chair has said, I don't know if he shared that with you or not, but he has said at meetings that he thinks that the Sherburne should be a bigger player. Because again, it's in Sherburne County. The city, you changed the name. I was there when you changed the name for the announcement. That's great, but people still refer to it as a St. Cloud Airport. And, it'll take a long time, I think, before people leave out St. Cloud. And again, that's good. What's good for St. Cloud is good for the county. What's good for the region is good for the county. But just remember that. And I appreciate that you're sounding more and more like a business. You're a business. This is a public taxing authority, but you're a business, and you need to act like a business. This is what I would consider to be an enterprise fund, just like a liquor store in the city, or other, counties have parks. Those are enterprise funds, and so just continue to do that. So I guess just be careful, and let's continue. The cap, that's the first time, Brian, that I heard you say that you're concerned about a cap. And maybe I missed it. I don't remember things like I used to, but the cap's important. Mike and Randy will be at the table. The levy cap is very important because you said, why would we do something more than $1 million or whatever? Again, that's today, but the scary part is you could. It's unlimited. And so why would you do it? Or why would a future board do it? I don't know. The scary part is that they could do it. And I think that's what at least that's the agreement that we've got, is that there will or should be a cap limit. And so I hope that doesn't go south, because then that's going to open up a lot of other discussions for a lot of other things. So again, I wasn't here. I would not have supported the agreement the way it was. I could have supported the agreement with some revisions, much of what we're talking about today, but I inherited this, so that's where we're at. And let's continue to make it better, and let's continue to be, let's keep the communication open.
Brian, do you have a comment?
With regard to the levy, I think the issue is I don't know that we're necessarily opposed, but we got to be careful about the language, because in the event of something catastrophic happening, we have to be able to deal with it. So I guess and we have legal counsel. We're talking to them about what would be appropriate language. So we're not opposed necessarily, but it has to be worded properly, because otherwise there could be a major issue with it. And I hope that can be appreciated. So that's.
And Mr. Chairman, that goes both ways.
Yeah.
We need to be more cautious and concerned about it than you do, because you're the receiver, we're the grantor. And so it goes both ways, understood.
Sure.
And, but again, the direction that I believe this board gave Mike and Randy is to do the cap, because Randy has shared several analogies of how the cap is the way to do it, not the dollar amount for your purposes and ours. So,
But I would also tack on, though, I understand the cap can be a hindrance because obviously we see what we did with the city of St. Cloud by not putting an escalator on. The cap could create down the road the same scenario if something does come up. Randy, you want to?
So the cap that is being proposed is the rate.
Oh.
And so the cap in effect would grow.
tax rate.
Yeah. So you would be, I mean, based on historical numbers, it would grow 5 to 10% a year. So, and I think right now that cap would be over $1 million, right, to start with. So.
Commissioner Percy?
I was just going to say, I'm not concerned about the levy as far as something happening catastrophic. If something happens catastrophic, I think there would be other sources, perhaps federal, state money too, that might be available, or we would have to react, but the levy itself would not be necessarily that reaction. I would like to see some type of control on the levy, though.
And again, you had asked for the conversation that has happened at the board, so I'm just being transparent, okay? I haven't said what our position is. These are just the conversations that have been had. So nobody said no, nobody said yes. It's just we're in the debate process because we needed to get the input from you all, and now we're in the process of deliberation. So
Yeah,
that's,
and I would say it's an ongoing conversation we'll
Yeah.
be having, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I mean, the three counties haven't even gotten together to discuss what we heard from our respective boards. And we still have to have a conversation with the Airport Authority Board as well. So, and Randy says, we're talking about a rate. We have talked about a rate and even a little bit with the other counties, but we haven't gotten to the point where we actually have any kind of a proposal or response. So,
So,
and we will have those discussions, definitely.
Okay, well, thanks for the discussion, Marshall, Brian, Bill.
thank you very
We look
much.
forward to hearing from you again.
Mr. Chairman, are you going to have that discussion with Sherburne County about getting more skin in the game? I mean, somehow should we do that as a board, or?
Well, I guess we haven't really addressed that, just like we haven't really had that meeting yet either, so.
And Mr.
I'm
Chair,
sure we can work on
including
that.
the city with that. I mean, there's 4 entities that are party to this agreement, so we can't just have.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
there's
I
only
said
3 of
counties.
us.
The city is included in that
Okay, good.
discussion too. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, since we've got them here, we always hear concerns about a carrier, bringing a major carrier in. Where would we be with that, and how big of a change would that be? My opinion is that would be huge. I think we would pull people out of the North Metro if we had, a flight going to Chicago every day, flight going to St. Louis, or one of those folks doing that, because a lot of people don't want to go to MSP. And bringing them here, I think there's enough people, especially from the North Metro, that would say, gosh, I can just run up Highway 10, and hopefully coming across that new bridge, if we ever get that new bridge, would make it convenient to do that. So what would be the possibility still of getting something regular from a carrier?
So on the daily air service issue, that one is a tricky one because of our proximity to MSP. And the last time it was tried, the issue, I think, was, a couple of things. One, it was unreliable. It was the second worst, there was only one airport in America one flight less reliable in the United States, and that was Houghton, Michigan, okay? And if you know what the weather's like there, okay, so that's how bad it was from a reliability standpoint. So people were getting stuck in Minneapolis, couldn't get back to St. Cloud, and then the other problem is the number of flights that it takes per day to have reliable service. So if there's a weather event or you miss your flight or whatever, that there's another one coming is critical. So, and the problem is airlines want a lot of cash. There was over $1 million spent the last time of local money that was raised to get that daily air service, and then it failed. So I think that has not been a priority for us because of the fact that the amount of money it would take to invest in it to get it, and the fact that it did fail once before. Now, the area where there is opportunity is in more destinations on the leisure travel side. So with We've got Mesa, Punta Gorda. With the merger of Allegiant and Sun Country, there's opportunity there. Minneapolis has one of the highest costs for the airport, for the airlines in the country. So St. Cloud has one of the lower costs in the country. So there's opportunity, we believe, that possibly to get other destinations. And I think if you got enough people flying leisurely, maybe sometime down the road, probably not when I'm still around, but down the road, maybe you could have daily air service. But other comments?
Just echoing that, we are preparing ourselves for that. Those things that we're doing that you just heard and what we're trying to do don't happen overnight, but sometimes the airlines act on a whim economically and just opportunistically. So we got to be prepared to accept that that increase in service, and we want it to. And to Commissioner Johnson's point, probably 50%, and I'm probably inaccurate, but it's something close to that of Minneapolis's revenue is parking at $35 a day or whatever it is, and they're landlocked. They're not getting any bigger. So just preparing the St. Cloud Airport for that eventuality of 10 to 15 years from now, being a place where we could increase service is kind of what we're doing here. So.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Up next, we have Human Resources. Jennifer leading this one. Jennifer and Sharon. Sure.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The board has selected GMP consultants for our county administrator search. Jeff Weldon is here with us today, and Jen Monsove is joining us virtually here shortly. I'll turn it over to Jeff and Jen as they walk us through the recruitment process, as well as the timelines for the county administrator search. With that, I introduce Jeff to the team.
Thank you very much. And good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Again, my name is Jeff Weldon. I am a senior executive recruiter consultant with GMP Consultants, and we are very excited that you have selected our firm to help you with this very important process that you have. We're very excited to help you find your next county administrator, and I wanted to just be here a little bit today and do a couple of things. First, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and my background, and then I want to share with you some information just at a very high level of how we see this process laying out over the next several weeks as we go through the steps, and then lay kind of a tentative timeline against that. And then most importantly, I want to be able to answer any questions at the end of that you may have. I'm originally, our company, well, I've been with GMP about 2.5 years, and our company is based out of the Seattle area, but I'm stationed exclusively in Minnesota. I'm born and raised in Minnesota. I'm from Detroit Lakes. My father actually worked for Mike a number of years ago. He was a deputy county highway engineer for the Becker County Highway Department for 38 years. So I spent a lot of my youth traveling some of the back county roads of Becker County watching my dad's construction projects. But I'm from Detroit Lakes. I went to school at Moorhead State University. I have a graduate degree in public administration from Hamline University. I've been in the local government business for many years. I started out as a policy analyst for the state legislature for a few years, and then got into local government when I went for my master's degree. And I spent 29 years in city management, beginning with the city of Apple Valley. And then my first city administrator job was with the city of Redwood Falls. I was there for 12.5 years, went to South Dakota to Yankton. I was there for 2.5 years, and then finally finished up my career as city manager in Brookings, South Dakota, retiring in 2018. And we moved back here to Minnesota, to Sauk Center. I actually live in rural Sauk Center. My wife is from the Sauk Center area. We have some property just north of town, and we built our retirement home there. And couldn't stay away from this business, so after a few years of retirement, I decided I wanted to help local government officials find talent for their organizations. So after 30 years of local government experience, on the appointed side, I had the good fortune of being elected as a township supervisor last year. So I am a supervisor on the board of directors for Candota Township in Todd County right now. So enjoying that assignment very well. What I'd like to do now is to just give you kind of a high-level conversation about our process, walk you through a couple of things that we see, and then tell you where there's some opportunities where we can be really flexible to meet your needs to change this process as you see fit. We have had some preliminary conversations with your HR staff already, laid out some of the groundwork that has brought us to today. Today is the formal kickoff of the project with stakeholder meetings. So I'm meeting all day today with you as well as your departmental staff to gather some information that we put together for the position profile. And the position profile is our primary marketing document that we distribute extensively to help advertise, market, and recruit candidates for the position. Applicants would then apply to an online portal that we would maintain and collect the applications that come in. But that information that we gather today is crucial to go into the document because we want to make sure that the candidates that we're attracting, the candidates that you want to see for your final interviews are properly aligned with the needs and the desires of what you're looking for and the issues facing you here in Stearns County. So that's why these meetings today are so important that we get that right. So we're looking to complete those meetings today and officially launch the profile coming up shortly. And then we advertise with that profile along with several other marketing tools for about a period of 4 weeks. We really think that we need to be out in the field about 4 weeks to really generate sufficient interest, knowledge, and information and allow candidates plenty of time to get their applications in. That takes us up to the time where we have our deadline. And then at our deadline is we'll look at the candidates that have come in. I will do an evaluation of all of the applications that come in, and then begin the process of narrowing that down into a list of semifinalist candidates. I would conduct formal interviews with those candidates virtually that we select as semifinalists, try to narrow out and make sure we got the best candidates that meet the minimum qualifications, but still are in total alignment with the profile and the information that we need. That takes a couple of weeks, and then what we'll do is we'll get together at what we call a work session, and then I'll present information on the semifinalist candidates, and then I'll work with you for you to select those finalists that you're looking at to come in for the final interviews. So that's kind of the high-level process. In addition to that, we ask candidates some supplemental questions. We ask them to prepare answers to a number of essay questions that I'll design with you to look at measures their critical thinking skills, measure their communication skills, and a number of key attributes that are important to the county and the position. So that'll be yet another tool that we work at. We'll prepare packets of information for you at that work session. The packets will include the applications, their resume, their cover letter, the answers to their supplemental questions. We will do at that point a preliminary Google background check, so we'll find out if there's any preliminary information that's out there that are red flags for these candidates that I will further follow up and do more research on. So you'll have all that information along with my consultant notes as the results of the semifinalist interviews. And then once we go through that process at the work session, then you'll make your final selections for the final candidates, and I'll help you out with a ranking process. I always rank those candidates on a scale of 1 to 10, with 7 being the minimum that I would recommend for proceeding to the finalist level. But I will still provide packets of information for everybody that I interview, even those that I end up not recommending, so you still have a chance to see what I spent my time on for those. I should note that those candidates that are recommended with a 7 or higher that I'm recommending you consider for the final interview, You can look at others if you wish. That's totally your choice. You can look at other candidates that I did not recommend to move on. That would be your choice at that time. But those candidates that, if you hire anybody that I have 7 or higher, we will put our company guarantee as stipulated in our contract. We will put our company guarantee behind those candidates that you've hired if for whatever reason that they would leave or it wouldn't work out. So that's kind of the high-level process. Looking at the schedule, as I mentioned, we're looking to finish the stakeholder meetings today and prepare for the launch of the advertising on May 6th with a first review, which is what we call the deadline, of June 7th. And then we're having a little bit of flexibility at this point because I know your schedules are tight. You've got a NACO conference coming up. I'm sure you have some other commitments. But we're looking at a working session right around June 23rd. I think you have a meeting on that date. We could coordinate that or look at some alternate date if we find we get a little bit behind or some of the interviewing process may take a little bit longer than expected. I conduct all those screening interviews virtually, so it does save some time in that regard. And then my staff and Jen and her folks will prepare the final interview information. We make arrangements for the candidates to be here that you've selected. We do another final background check where we look at verification of employment, education, criminal history, things like that. And then you also have that information at your disposal when you're looking to do the final interviews. And then we're looking at the final interviews sometime around the week of July 13th when we bring the candidates in. And there's a lot of flexibility in how we do interviews. The most basic interview process, candidates come in, meet with you for a 1-hour session, and then after that session, you would have a conversation about what you saw in those candidates and move toward the decision of making an offer. We also can look at an option of having additional interview panels or flexibility on that. We've done that before, where you might want a panel of your department heads that also interview these candidates so they get a chance to weigh in on some of their perspectives. Their information is then given to you at the end of the day as well, so you can get a staff perspective from the interviews. Sometimes we will provide a public reception or an open house the evening before the candidates are here to see how they interact with members of the public. If you choose to host kind of an open house style, that is sometimes beneficial. Again, totally up to you. We have a number of options that we can explore a little bit later on and for you to select as to what you think you might be most comfortable working with. So with that, Mr. Chairman and members, kind of the high-level process, I just want to let you know that while we have a process that is pretty much, we think, tried and true, there's all kinds of flexibilities built into here. I want to make sure that you're satisfied with this process. You're the final hiring authority, and then we can make changes and tweaks to incorporate issues that are important to you along the way. In terms of the final interview, I have a list of over 150 questions to choose from for county administrator and county manager candidates. I'll work with you on that to select a subset of questions that you want to work. But the important thing for the interview questions is that they come from you and that they are reflective of the issues that you want to ask these finalists and the process. So while we've got a lot of questions we can suggest, I want to make sure at the end of the day that you felt you got good, organic-based questions that got good answers to the issues that you felt important enough so you could make a decision. So again, there's opportunities for flexibility here, but that's kind of the process that we'd like to work with you to lead you forward.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Would Jennifer, does she want to state it? She just popped on here, I noticed. So
Yes, she is. And Jennifer will help me answer any questions. She provides some more of the detailed background work. Jennifer handles a lot of the specific aspects of this project in the background. She's a little bit more familiar with some of the detailed components than I am, so she can help me answer questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, you just want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Jen Mosvice. I live here in the Midwest, and I work remotely for GMP. I work as the project manager, and I look forward to working with you guys on this search.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Persky?
Yep. Jennifer, Jeff, I got a question. Did I understand we're going to have the applications open from May 6th to June 7th? Is that correct? Did I hear that?
That's correct.
Okay. My concern about that is, how about, are we out there advertising the job at this time? How soon are we going to be out there advertising the job being available out there? Because my concern would be, okay. My concern is that we definitely want to get the best candidates that we can. These are life-changing experiences, as you know from your experience in working with people that are looking to make these major job changes, that they have the time frame at which they can actually, make that decision. They might have family, they're going to be moving kids from schools, their spouse might have a relative or, family that lives in the area, that would be a thing to play. Do you feel this is enough time for us to get that done?
Yes, yeah, we do. It's been our experience that 4 weeks is ample time to do it. If we let them go out too long, we have found if we've delayed that process, we really don't get any more candidates later on. And candidates want to know that the process is continuing to move in a somewhat expedited manner. Otherwise, the longer the process drags on, then the more opportunity you'll lose candidates or they'll change their mind.
Commissioner Bertram?
Mr. Chairman, welcome. Is it going to be a continuous posting? Are we going to be able to see the candidates as they apply? When I say we, I mean the board.
Our process has been that I review all the candidates as they come in. I would give you a report as to the number of candidates that come in every week. And it's been our practice that I would keep the applications until the first review or until the deadline of the 7th, and then I would start reviewing them. Now, as the final hiring authority, if you would like, you certainly have the right to see all the applications, either together at the end or as they come in. We can make that happen if you want. But this is one of the ways we provide value for what we're doing for you, is our ability to screen out these candidates. One of the things that I look for and that the profile will highlight is what are the minimum qualifications. And we think that that's a good barrier by which we weed out candidates. There are a lot of candidates that simply apply just for anything. And I wonder sometimes why people apply when obviously they're not in any way remotely qualified for this position. They just don't meet any of the minimum qualifications. So I give those a cursory look, but they quickly go in the no pile because I want to concentrate the efforts on those that are going to bring the most value to the organization.
And Mr. Chairman, you'll learn more, and you have already. You've interviewed several people, and I'm really happy that you're doing it with the leadership team as well as the board. But my expectation, and I've been very clear about this, is that you answer to the board. We get all the information, the entire board. Everybody, human services is obviously, or human resources is copied, but that we get the information, we have control of the information as far as and we're all big men and women. We know confidentiality. Yep. We've been involved in a lot bigger deals than this, where we need to comply with that, because as I said earlier, this is going to be the biggest decision that we'll make probably during the terms of our office. But you'll learn more from all of us as you've already started as far as the board goes and leadership. What would be helpful, I think, for me and you, and again, however you do this, but it would be helpful for me is after today, you kind of and I shared my folder with Mike, and I said, continue to update that. I would suggest to all the board, but certainly that, as what the process is going to be, for sure, after you decide, once you meet with us today, and then follow that process. And you'll never give, in my opinion, us too much information as we go down this path, because again, this is here. The only reason I bring up the continuous is in the past, other things I've been involved in, it's always helpful of seeing that who is applying and who isn't applying. and then to question you, why not? And can we do something to get that level of candidate to apply?
Yep.
If you let it go through the end, it's done. Now we can't have those discussions. So that's the only reason I brought that up.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we do too is that we're very aggressive about going after candidates. And you see the ad list where we're doing our marketing and advertising. It's a pretty comprehensive list. It's worked out well in the past. But by the same token, across the state, I will be making telephone calls to people that I think would be good candidates, encourage people to apply. So there's a personal outreach. If I haven't seen an application come in from somebody that I think would be an excellent candidate for this position, I'll reach out to them and say, here's our information. We sent you a flyer. Haven't seen your application come in. I'd like you to encourage you to think about this opportunity in Stearns County and ask them to apply.
And Mr. Chairman, the follow-up to that is, that, as I've said before, the number of candidates aren't as concerning to me. I think we're going to attract a fair number of candidates. It's getting the right fit.
Absolutely.
For where we are today. That's going to be the critical job that I've got confidence in you and your group in helping do the fit. Because a particular candidate would be a perfect pick in another county.
Yep.
But what we have going on, which you will find out, I hope, that connecting the right candidate to our organization today is going to be the most critical service that your company, your firm can provide.
Yep, and Commissioner, thank you for bringing that up, because that is the hallmark cornerstone of our philosophy and the work that we do. And that's why these stakeholder meetings today are so important, because everything we do from here on out in terms of evaluating candidates is going to be geared toward, are they the right fit for this organization? We're going to do that with the questions for the screening interview. Hopefully the questions for the final interview will be directed toward that. The questions and the supplemental essay questions will all be geared toward specific things that are designed to measure the appropriateness and the fit of the right candidate for this position. Stearns County is going to market extremely well for this opportunity. This county is well positioned to attract an outstanding group of candidates. You've got a diverse economy, diverse, large population outside of the metro area, but you've got those sociological and economic connections to the metro area, which carry some attraction in itself, all the right reasons that you know more than I do. But everything is going to be geared toward trying to find that right fit. We'll get a lot of very well-qualified candidates in the profession, but they're not all going to be the right fit for Stearns County, and that's my job to help find that for you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer and Jeff, thank you for being here today, and it's good to be working with GMP, you guys. A couple of quick things. I think the right fit will be informed by the development of the profile.
Absolutely.
I think it's as simple as that. We need to understand where the county's going and who's going to help us get there. We need to understand sort of daily, monthly, annual needs. In developing that profile, we'll then discover that we're connecting with the right candidates. For my own part, I think it's important that we have as much information as possible. I think you know your job, and when you decide that people have applied who don't meet the minimum criteria, that's it, as far as I'm concerned. Wouldn't be interested in seeing those people at all. I think it's important that we trust the experts and what they're doing. So the other thing I wanted to mention was you talked about a reception, some sort of social reception, either for the public or for the public and employees. I think those things are very important, where you see people in a more relaxed setting, though albeit not relaxed perhaps for the candidate, but people become themselves, and you watch them mingle and how they talk with people and how they relate. Those are real important. So I would encourage us to build some of those things in for finalists. Sure. The other thing I want to mention is the candidates, I think, deserve a really good understanding of what we have here in terms of facilities and what we're going to have in the future, the Justice Center, for example. So I think that needs to be part of what they're given, and even possible touring a couple of our buildings, and to that end, I would suggest that it doesn't need to be simply you guys managing a candidate, but having someone else come along with you, perhaps a leader or a supervisor, who can help get an understanding of who that person is while they're doing that kind of activity.
Right.
So,
Right, yep.
thanks.
Yep. Just as a comment to that, a tour of the facilities is one of the key components that we build into the final interview process, which is always helpful to bring candidates in the day before, because we can schedule that kind of an opportunity. And from what I've seen, you've got beautiful facilities here, and it's important for them to know the type of working environment they and their staff will have. So even a quick walkthrough from some of the buildings, meeting with the department heads, which they would do at that time as well. Sometimes we schedule a luncheon with the department heads. As another way for that kind of interaction to be gauged is an important component. And with regard to the reception, we do put a formal process in place a little bit with that reception. We invite attendees that come to the reception, we give them comment cards. And we encourage them to visit one-on-one and mingle with the candidates. And then once they're done with that, go off to the side and fill out a comment card and leave that card with me later that night. So I'm getting some reaction from one-on-one individuals who attended the reception to give me their feedback on how they view these candidates personally. What did they think? What was their impressions in a general, informal, conversational manner? And that information is very helpful as well. And I'd present a summation of those comments with you as you do your final evaluation after the interviews. Another piece of tools to have.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe our charge here is to approve the schedule that's on page 74. Is that, or is this just information?
To approve the timelines and process and the proposed advertisement schedule.
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look. I think it's page 73.
I'll move approval of the timeline.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Basically, the timeline was laid forth by Jeff's, and it's on page 73 in our packet. So that is what we are considering right now.
My only question, Mr. Chairman, is, and I'm sure it's amendable, but after today, would that potentially change? And that's my only question. And if it does, I suppose we can amend it, or would we be better off approving that schedule after your meetings today? Just, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Burcham, I think it would be fine to approve it as a preliminary agenda that could be subject to change. And in the future, we don't know what kind of scheduling issues you might come up with that could cause us a day's delay or something like that. So I think from my vantage point, it'd be fine to approve it today with the understanding that there might be some minor changes. For example, the screening interviews, if I interview 10 or if I interview 20, that could have an impact on timing. It's going to take more time to interview 20 than it is going to be 12. And I might ask for a week's change in that schedule, things like that.
Mr. Chairman, if it's changeable, I've got
And
no
that's part
problem
of,
with
that's
it.
part
And I
of
think-
my motion. This is part of my motion.
And one of the things that I think we as a board have to understand is we need to be all hands on deck and we have to be available. We might have to skip a meeting here or there that's secondary to this discussion. So just for what it's worth, to keep this moving, to keep your process moving, we're going to need to be focused on this.
Because Mike is going to be leaving at a certain time, and even after you extend an offer, that offer is negotiated and accepted, there's going to be a little bit of still another time delay, obviously, for that person to start, especially if there's a relocation involved.
And I think the goal has been that we've said is it's not the speed, it's the quality. But we
Absolutely.
want to keep it moving.
Absolutely.
All right. We good? Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Jen, for attending. We will take a 5-minute break.
Do we want to approve the ad scope at all before?
Oh, what did you say?
Do you need more time to approve the ad scope?
Next item up, Randy?
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, Cañuay County voted 3-2 for shotgun. I wanted to let everybody know that just in case anybody cares.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, so we have a tobacco
Commissioner
ordinance.
Persky, please. All right, go
You
ahead.
might have to
Randy.
use the mallet
Yeah,
directly
go
on
ahead.
him, so. So we have the tobacco ordinance, new tobacco ordinance we're looking to adopt. The last one was drafted in 1999. So we have a group of departments that came together, the Auditor-Treasurer's Office, Attorney, Public Health, part of Human Services, and the Sheriff's Office. So there was, I think, we have some public comments, a couple issues that I think that'll be brought up and discussed. But other than that, I think I'll turn it over to the group to do a PowerPoint, and then you can open a public hearing.
Right. Maybe just introduce yourselves and.
Doesn't sound like it is.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
Okay,
no, no.
Sierra Lorbeski, the Auditor-Treasurer's Office.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Sean Widmer, one of the patrol lieutenants at the Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mike Matnich, Human Services, Public Health.
Thank you.
All right.
There we go.
All right. To get things started, as Randy mentioned, this was a collaborative effort of the Auditor's Office and Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office, and Human Services, Public Health. And really what we did is we came together and looked at the ordinance that was put in place in '99. Tobacco-related deaths remain the largest preventable cause of death in the United States still today, with over 480,000 deaths annually associated with tobacco. As we looked at this ordinance and looking at the health of our community, we had those things in mind. Really what we want to do, since the ordinance was from '99, is look at those changes that have happened across the country within our state since then. Two major initiatives were the Freedom to Breathe Act that took place in 2007, which eliminated smoking within establishments. And then in 2019, Tobacco 21 took place, and that was the change where individuals have to be 21 to purchase those products. So some major changes that were not incorporated into our current ordinance. So in doing that, so we wanted to look at the regulations, we want to align with current practices, and then update and kind of change the terminology of things. As we look at the health impacts and those changes, you can see here's a Minnesota look at kind of the adult smokers in Minnesota. These numbers come from the Blue Cross Blue Shield and some state vital statistics. You can see across Minnesota there is a large number of adults out there smoking. You can see that the deaths associated with that and the dollars with that as well. As we look at those same pieces across our county, Stearns County, 1 in 6 individuals have tobacco-related death. You can see the financial cost to our constituents of health-related costs of $824, and then the cost per household there. You can see a very large number here. This, again, is the adult population of Stearns County. As we look at the community as a whole, those youth, and really kind of looking at the youth population, we want to look at kind of the numbers of kids that are having access to these products. And our tobacco ordinance in itself helps with that. It allows for us to not have certain products placed in certain vantage points of folks in the store or have them have access to that. What we've seen, and the numbers here in front of you show from the Minnesota Youth Tobacco Survey from 2000 all the way up to 23, is a shift in tobacco patterns and use. You can see there's a decrease in cigarette use, but in 2014, you can see the first time they surveyed is the use of e-cigarettes or vaping, those devices that have kind of come into the market since our original ordinance was in place. And what they're seeing is that the flavors that are offered in those devices make it easy for individuals to conceal those, use those, kind of the negative parts of smoking has been kind of taken out of the equation, other than the health impacts. What this is doing, it's allowing individuals to access these products with higher concentrations of nicotine and things like that. It's causing dependency in our youth. 80% of our youth show signs of that dependency after using those devices. The earlier they start to use nicotine in those devices, the more dependency is established and the larger, greater rate of dependency down the road and health impacts. It impacts their ability, attention, memory, learning. It increases anxiety in individuals. There's that higher risk of transitioning to other substances down the road. Nearly 70% of the youth who vape that try to quit aren't successful. So again, very, very addictive methods of using nicotine out there. And so today in this ordinance, as we look at things, the intent is really to kind of ensure that we're in alignment with those changes that have happened federally and at the state level. Take our ordinance and incorporate terms and products that are current in the market today and being used by folks out there. And ultimately, by making these changes and working together with our community, here in our organization and the community partners, educating them, we hope to improve the overall health of our community and youth in our community.
Okay, so the Auditor-Treasurer's Office is responsible for the administrative side of licensing tobacco retail establishments. So a valid license is required for all retail sales of tobacco or tobacco-related products, and we currently issue licenses for 18 establishments. However, Stearns County is only responsible for licensing establishments in townships or unincorporated areas. Our licenses are valid for 1 calendar year, so July 1st through June 30th. An annual renewal is required 30 to 60 days before the expiration of the current license. This year, our office also implemented a new and improved version of our tobacco application, so this makes the licensing process both easier for our licensees and the county. Licenses are non-transferable, meaning that they only apply to the original location or person. If someone decides to sell their business, change ownership, or change their establishment name, then they must apply for a new license with our office. The new ordinance also states that all employees selling and handling tobacco products should be 18 years old. Smoking is prohibited inside all licensed retail establishments, and sampling is prohibited, meaning customers may not test out tobacco products for free. And lastly, license fees are set by the county fee schedule, which is subject to change, but our current fee is $250 annually. And then the next thing that we changed in the updated ordinance would be our violation or fee schedule for penalties. So the reason why we did this was we wanted it to kind of mirror our liquor ordinance as well as state and federal penalties. So the old violation fee was $75 and we upped it to $300. The second violation within a 36-month period went from $200 to $600. And then the third violation within a 36-month period went from $250 to $1,000. And then included with that third violation, you would also have a 30-day suspension. And then upon a fourth violation, then we would revoke your license. Individuals who are involved with violations may also receive a fine of $50, or they may be required to complete a tobacco education program. And then for minors involved in violations, they may also be required to complete a tobacco education course or participate in a tobacco diversion program. So we wanted to look at non-criminal penalties for minors, as well as trying to get them away from using tobacco products. Unlawful reimbursement. This means that establishments cannot force their employees to pay fines that were given to the establishment, so they cannot deduct the cost of these fines from their employees' wages. And then lastly, businesses or individuals may face other criminal charges if they violate state tobacco laws.
So some of the ways the sheriff's office gets involved in this tobacco ordinance when it comes down to the actual applications themselves. So applicants under the age of 21 are not allowed to apply for a tobacco license. Prior convictions related to tobacco within 5 years, and any applicant may be denied if they have been convicted of a tobacco-related violation. Just to give a little bit of context, here in Stearns County, we've never actually pursued charging out tobacco violations. Ever since I've worked here at the sheriff's office, we used it as a tool of education, and we've also worked with the state in prior years to utilize it as an educational tool with them as well. So unless they're coming from an outside county that had prior, violations that they've charged, then that would apply here until we move forward with this tobacco ordinance. If we do previous license suspensions or revocations within 12 months, if an applicant has had a tobacco license suspended or revoked within the last 12 months, they're not eligible to receive a new license. False or incomplete application information. By providing false or misleading or incomplete information on an application is grounds for a denial. And then movable businesses are not eligible, so that would include something like a kiosk or a truck, something that's not a permanent structure. And then as far as compliance and enforcement, our office will, moving forward, conduct annual compliance checks at least once per year to ensure retailers follow the law. These checks may include supervised individuals ages 17 to 20 years old attempting to purchase the tobacco products in these retail businesses. And then premises open to inspection. All licensed businesses must allow inspections during regular business hours. This helps ensure ongoing compliance with licensing and sales regulations. And then some other violations. Adults cannot purchase tobacco for minors. It is illegal for anyone 21 years or older to buy or obtain tobacco products on behalf of someone under 21, which includes any attempt to circumvent age restrictions. And then minors cannot obviously use false IDs. Individuals under the age of 21 are prohibited from using fake IDs or altered identifications to purchase tobacco. Violations may result in non-criminal penalties such as educational programs or community services like Sierra had mentioned. And I know she had mentioned that there's about 18 establishments that are in townships. Our office, the last time that we actually did checks, there's about 36. There may be more, give or take, because we do some of the other municipalities that have their own establishments that sell retail tobacco as well.
So if I got you right, when you mentioned before, the county covers the township ones?
Correct.
Now, as far as compliance or permits, or
So
what's the differentiation there? I mean, I know the county for the liquor license side of it, but how does the tobacco play into that?
So we only do the townships and then unincorporated areas such as like St. Anna, which is kind of in the Avon area, I think.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we don't do anything with licensing in the cities. I don't know,
So like the city of St. Augusta would be in charge of doing their licensing for their tobacco.
And then, but you do the enforcement?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
And then
Commissioner
like,
Persky?
Yeah. See, on the compliance checks, you do those annually, you say? Okay.
Yeah, we will be doing them at least once annually.
Okay,
yes.
and when you do them, do you let them know that there was a compliance check?
Yes.
Okay, because my concern would be is, once they pass the compliance check, then do they feel that, we can back off, we've passed our compliance check. So
Sure.
making it an annual, that you're not gonna be back for a number of months or perhaps even a year, that allows them to perhaps, make sales that they would otherwise not be making. Is that an issue or not?
So we, historically, for tobacco compliance, we have not done checks on a regular basis because it's always been more of an educational tool.
Right.
Whereas for alcohol compliance, we do anywhere from 4 to 8 checks per year, and they're very random.
Okay.
So that could be something that we could look into incorporating, where maybe we're doing more than one and it's, randomized like that, to prevent them from going, okay, well, we know they hit their check.
Okay, or what I'm saying is that, do they need to be told that they had a random check?
Not necessarily. I think the way that we do it with the alcohol ones is we let them know that, hey, nice job, you passed the compliance check that we did on your establishment, because a lot of times they don't know
Sure.
that we were even in there. And when
And
we were
perhaps
working,
a positive reinforcement would encourage them to do the right thing. Yeah.
when we were working with the state to do some of these compliance checks, I think that was 3 years ago that they stopped reaching out to organization or sheriff's offices to do checks. We were providing them educational materials right after we completed the check while we were there, not after the fact. Where like with alcohol, we just send letters in the mail after. We don't tell them, the time that it happened,
Okay.
that we were conducting a check and you passed.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions or comments before we open a public hearing? Commissioner Johnson?
Back on the compliance checks for a minute, John. You're doing a check on all 36 establishments. You're not doing a sampling.
No, we would try to hit all of them, yes.
Okay.
And if we can't get them all done in one, we will conduct another check to make sure we at least try to touch every establishment at least one time.
And if I heard correctly, you're doing the enforcement beyond townships and unincorporated villages.
Only for the cities that don't have their own municipal police departments, then they're in charge of their own compliance checks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Mr.
Burson?
Chairman, could we get the slide presentation forwarded to us, please? And then, does this include vape, pot, anything else, or strictly tobacco?
All tobacco-related products.
So vaping would be included. And what about pot?
No, that's completely separate.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we got all the questions so far. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak at the public hearing for the tobacco ordinance changes, updates? Anyone here wishing to speak?
Is this the time that we submit the letter that was given to all of us?
I'll do that right away.
Okay.
Sandy?
Sandy Clocker, Avon, Minnesota. We ID for a pack of cigarettes. I think we need to ID for elections and voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak? Anyone else? Otherwise, Randy, would you care to?
I'll let Sierra,
Or Sierra, okay.
read that into the record.
Yeah, so I printed it out for you guys this morning, but we received correspondence last night regarding Jack's companies. I think they're some in Meeker County, some in Stearns County, but we don't actually license any of the Jack's establishments. But she had some concerns with the 18-year-old clerk age because she expressed that it would make scheduling extremely hard for her staff, as she has some responsible 16, 17-year-old employees that do the same check-ins that an 18-year-old would do. But again, the scheduling piece of it would be very difficult if that change was made, as well as the couponing and promotion part of the ordinance, which I think we had talked about it earlier, but like back in the day when Marlboro used to like do those promotional items and you could get like miles for certain things, I think that's more what we were getting at rather than like a 2-for-1 coupon kind of thing. But both of those were concerns that she had. And she also wanted to mention that even though we don't license her company specifically, she's concerned that the cities would follow suit with what the county ordinance states. So, and then we also received correspondence from a Lance Klatt, who is an executive director of the Minnesota Service Station and Convenience Store Association, but he just wanted to let us know that he was a good resource for us to use, and that if we had any questions or concerns, but overall he seemed to be supportive of the ordinance.
So for clarification, looking at your coupon discount, I see on the federal side, it says ban on coupons and free samples. And the state side, state minimum cigarette pricing law applies. Are those guidelines we have to follow or that we should follow?
think that's more of a public health thing. Like, we think we should follow it, but I don't think we necessarily have to.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
Mr. Chair, Sierra, if you're looking at the grid that has the draft and the state requirements and federal requirements, under both state and federal, it says requirements. And then it talks about the 18 plus required to handle products. Is that truly a requirement?
No, I do not. I don't think so.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that item there, the 18 plus on the state side, it's permitted. We could actually implement that piece is what that one says. And on the federal side, there are some tobacco products that are produced that are at very high levels that there are some federal regulations on, but it's not directly imposed on us here in the state. So it's not a must do.
So the word
we
requirement
can.
doesn't really apply. So we wouldn't be, if we didn't require an 18-year-old to sell, we wouldn't be inconsistent with the federal government or the state.
No, it's a recommendation. It's not a requirement.
Okay. I kind of asked some similar questions before because I thought it would have been nice to know what the counties around us, what their ordinance look like, because then we could see if we're kind of mirroring some of this. But I guess if there's no public input at this point, we can close the public hearing and then have a discussion amongst the commissioners on what we'd like to see. So again, if there's no one here wishing to speak at the public hearing, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, Commissioner Bertram?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to suggest that we continue this. I talked to Jennifer, I talked to Randy, only because this came late last night or yesterday afternoon, and they're very good points. And Mr. Klatt, it wasn't so much that he didn't have concerns, he just wanted to reach out. He reached out to all of us, and I just connected the county to him, and so they had a conversation. But Joyce, I think, brings up some very good points, and even though we don't license them, I think we want to look at this because there is some of that information, including the 18-year-olds, that wasn't, that we've gotten cleared up now that should be considered. It'll give them just a little bit more time to tie up some of those loose ends. I don't think it would hurt to do that. And I think the whole issue of compliance, that's what everybody wants. I mean, nobody's suggesting or wanting to have youth smoke more, but we have to deal with the reality of where are they getting the cigarettes, how are they getting the cigarettes, and then how this ordinance is going to change that. I think the proposed ordinance, when it says changes go beyond enforcement, that's that dicey area, that where do we get, political, philosophical on, or where do we go when we're enforcing. But I think the simplest thing, and it won't hurt anything in the process, is to continue this, knowing the information that we now have, recircle with Mr. Klatt at the municipal association or their group, just to reconnect everything. I think I'm sensing you'd agree that there's more information than what you may have had before this conversation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I did speak to Mr. Klatt on the phone about the changes in the ordinance specifically, and did walk through the list of changes like Sierra did here today, and had conversation about them. He didn't have any objections to those pieces. He did offer himself up as a resource to help us in the future educate establishments and do those things.
And Mr. Chairman, did you talk to Joyce Mansky?
I did last night.
Okay. So I think, again, just with this information, everything I'm sensing is continuing this isn't a problem. Or am I missing something?
Or moving forward.
Well, I think you have all the information. If you need more, like from what the surrounding counties are doing, we certainly can gather that and bring that back if you like. But I think the 18-year-old is not a requirement, so we could remove that from the ordinance. And then whatever you want to do with the coupons, that's also optional. I think the public health feels not to encourage use of tobacco, and that's why that's there. So
I can see the 18, it takes the pressure off, because if you have 16-year-old clerks and you get somebody younger in, there's a lot of peer pressure to cave. So in a way, I can see why you'd want to, do at least 18, but again, we can, this is something that can always be revisited if, we're in concurrence. I mean, we could, again, I don't see much that would say we don't need to do something now. I think we can make some of those changes if that's what the board so wishes to do. Whether it's on the, allowing 16-year-olds. The coupons, I don't think, to me, could stay in there, that we don't have to allow coupons, but I don't smoke either, so.
If you'd like us to survey the surrounding counties and bring that back, we can do that. I guess that's up to you. Otherwise, I think you know all the information now that we know. Right?
And Mr. Chairman, I think how it looks after that was taken out, I'd like to see the final language before we approve something. How does it look after you take the 18 language out? And the coupon thing, I mean, again, it's clearly, it says you're not going after, I don't think, the illegal. The people that are getting tobacco illegally probably aren't going to be using coupons. It's the people that are legally using it that, again, I can't imagine what we're going to end up with pot. So I was going to say something sarcastic, but I didn't. So the same people that are all freaked out about smoking, which I agree, don't seem to care about pot, which kind of confuses me, but whatever. But yeah, the 18-year-old, Commissioner Anach, is a big deal. I mean, most of the places in your district and my district, they're under 18 because they've got a hell of a time finding employees. And I'll tell you, I would trust my life with some of these 16-year-olds before I would some of the 50-year-olds that are working in some places that I've been in. So that age alone doesn't, it's the training, it's the organization, that's what's important. And with Jack's, they're in 3 different counties around us. So, yep, they're hiring, and that Jack's is just the only one that saw this now. Casey's and all these other outfits are all operating in and around counties. And there is a concern that most cities will defer to what the county does when they do their enforcement. And next thing you know, it's a ripple effect that goes across. So prevention, everybody's for that, but at least those 2 items. And then just giving it some more time. I guess, again, I don't think that would hurt everybody to make sure that we've thought this through, because there's certainly information here that I'm seeing that I didn't see before last night.
And obviously, we could leave it the way previous practices have varied by store as far as who can sell the tobacco. If we want to, or if we want to push it down the road, I guess, it would be interesting what the counties around us, what their descriptions look like, but I don't know if it would be something that would stop us making changes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we continue this to a date certain. I guess I don't know if it's the next meeting or when you want to.
I think we can get that information pretty quick, and we can bring a version back with some changes.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we continue it to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue the tobacco ordinance discussion. Any
Just
further
discussion? Yeah. I just want to vent my opinion. I as commerce, I don't see any problem with the coupons. And to me, that's not an issue. But I would like to see what it is with the age, because I'd like to see what the other counties are doing. I guess I would have trouble perhaps putting a 16-year-old in charge of, carding a 20-year-old or someone that's intimidating in size and stature, perhaps, being threatened, so, yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, and I apologize, my mother's having a physical emergency. I'm going to have to leave to go to the emergency room here in a second. I think one of the things for all of us to be mindful is most of our school districts are in more than one county, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are a leader in this area. Part of what's hard is a store could be on one side or the other. And so, to the extent that this is one of those things where we can have some consistency as relates to the states and what the feds are directing us. But it is a little trickier when you're trying to get multiple counties to be on the same page when you have 9 counties around you. So I have no problem going ahead and getting more information. And then after this, I'm going to have to go.
Commissioner Johnson?
I seconded the motion and would approve this extension of time. I don't have any trouble with the 18-plus requirement going away, in part because it's easier for people to get good employees, and I think young people need to work. But a young person who's 16 or 17 working in a store that sells all kinds of items, but all of a sudden can't sell a pack of cigarettes and has to get someone else, is problematic for the employer. So there are some difficulties. I do have an issue with coupons and discounts. Having been the director of 2 heart centers for 44 years, this is pretty close to me, actually. Everything like that is an incentive. It makes it more difficult to stop if you're really trying to, and most people along the way are trying to stop. It's easy to get started, and those kinds of incentives are just unnecessary for this kind of product, I think. So I would say that to ban discounts and coupons is perfectly appropriate. While people have a right to do what they want, I don't know as if we want to incent them and make it easier for them to continue should they want to quit. And I don't mind telling you personally, I smoked 2 packs of Marlboros a day from age 17 to 34. Developed asthma, heart disease, and cancer subsequent to that. I know the damages that tobacco can do. I've seen it, and I think it's something that we should protect people from. And we can't keep them from it. This isn't going to stop everything. But I think it's going to set up some guardrails. So I'd be fine with getting rid of the 18-plus requirement. From my perspective, I think the coupons and discounts are unnecessary.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we have the motion and a second to continue this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for the
you.
discussion. Next up, we have the bond sale.
So yesterday afternoon, we had our bond sale for the Justice Center.
Thanks, Carol.
And I have Sarah Utsch, our County Finance Director, and Dan from Elders. I'll go over the details, but in general, the interest rates came back very favorable, and that will, of course, allow us to keep the costs down, most likely paying off the bonds earlier, and also, there's a cash flow thing always with this as sales tax revenue come in to pay it off, and then we have the debt service. So this also improves the cash flow too. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
All right, thank you. Sarah Utsch, Finance Director in the Auditor-Treasurer's Office. I believe you received an email already that a couple of weeks ago, the county underwent our national bond rating with S&P. So that kind of started some of this as well. That consisted questions around the county's economic and financial factors. Ellers joined Mike and Randy and I in those questions and answers that we did, and it was everything from what's happening with your largest employers at the county and what are your financial policies around investments and debt. We talked about legislative items and human services and the financial impact that will have and how we have really positioned ourselves financially to take on a project and debt of this size. That resulted in us ending in a AA+ rating. And we've held that for several years now, and we are happy that that landed us in a favorable position in the market when we went out for bid. So I want to thank Bruce and Dan. Bruce has been here before, and Dan is here today. They've had several meetings with Randy and I, keeping us on the straight and narrow and making sure that we're thinking creatively, looking at cash flows, looking at drawdown schedules. So it's been very a good relationship. Also, we have Taft was our law firm, and they are the ones we can thank for that 22-page resolution in front of you today. So we will let Dan walk through the results and next steps. Thanks, Dan.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Dan Tinter. I'm a senior municipal advisor with Ellers and Associates, and as Sarah mentioned, I work with Bruce Kimmel, who has been at your meetings previously on this debt transaction for the county. So as was mentioned earlier, yesterday at your direction and on your behalf, Ellers solicited bids from qualified financial institutions on the debt transaction. And as included in the sale day report that was distributed to the county board, we received 6 bids, and for bonds of this size, if you looked at the bid tab, you may see that it was from some of the largest financial institutions really in the country. And as a result of those 6 bids, the winning bidder was actually Bank of America Securities of New York, New York. And the low bid was right around 4.18%. You may ask yourself, how does that compare to when we talked about this a few months ago when we were discussing the pre-sale considerations? And at that point in time, we were having an estimate of right around 4.518%. So we're about 0.35% lower than what we were estimating just a few weeks ago. It's worth noting because of some geopolitical uncertainty, there was some shift in rates back and forth over the last few weeks. And so ultimately, this is a good result given the political environment globally. The thing I would also note is that based on the bond and the size of the premium, we were actually able to reduce the principal amount by about $3.7 million. And because of that lower interest rate and the lower amount that the county is borrowing, the overall principal and interest over the life of the debt will actually be about $24.5 million less. So ultimately, the better interest rate, less debt service over time, and as Sarah mentioned earlier, we're no longer projecting any kind of shortfall in the cash flows related to the sales tax because of those lower principal and interest payments. And in fact, in our analysis, it may be possible to pay off the bonds earlier. You may recall we were talking about maybe a few years earlier in 2051 or 2052, and it may be closer to 2049 or 2050, again, depending on the actual sales tax receipts over the life of the bond and some of the assumptions that are built into that cash flow analysis. But ultimately, as a result, we are recommending that the county board does accept the bid and award the bonds to Bank of America Securities of New York, New York. Ultimately, despite all of these moving parts, I think the thing the board should feel very encouraged by is that this was a strong sale with quality bidders. The spread among the bidders was quite narrow, meaning that we consider it a good test of the market. And you got a lower interest rate than what we were projecting and less debt service than what we were projecting, and it solved some open questions in the sales tax cash flow that have been shared with the board earlier. So I'm happy to say I'm here this morning to deliver what I think is very good news to the county board and the greater Stearns County community. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the sale day activities, or any of the moving pieces that I mentioned over the past few minutes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve bond sale.
Okay, we have a motion. Second by Commissioner Johnson. Further discussion?
If we were lawyers, we'd change it to 25 pages, and then we'd get paid another $10,000 to make the changes, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you're motioning the resolution and the post-sale compliance, yes? Okay.
Right.
Yep. Any other comments? No further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Well, thank you, Mr. Board, members of the commission, and congratulations on the sale, and thank you for choosing to work with Ellers. We're honored and privileged to work with you.
Well, thank you.
So much.
Thanks for the good news. And we should probably just maybe note too that Commissioner Clark had to leave.
Yeah.
So.
Sarah?
Okay. I think we can skip the break unless people need another break, but otherwise, we're up to Public Works. Chris so patiently sat there and waited for us to get this far.
That's right. I know I'm at the end of the agenda, so you must have saved the best for last, right? All right. The first item I have before you is revocation of road, or sometimes we call it a jurisdictional transfer. Our County Road 125 in Sauk Center Township, just west of town. We're proposing to actually swap that with a township road. We would give them our County Road 125, and then we would accept 385th Street, which is east of town. This is something that's been discussed before. It does appear in our currently adopted 5-year road plan as a 2027 construction project on 385th. So to do the process of actually doing the jurisdictional swap or transfer, we need to have a public hearing in the township in which this road lies. So I just want to bring this up for discussion, and if it's still the direction of the board to proceed in this manner, schedule a public hearing. We would suggest Wednesday, June 10th. That does coincide with a regularly scheduled township board meeting date of that township. They meet the second Wednesday. Their meetings are late, 8:30 p.m., but that's what we would suggest as a possible meeting date.
And Chris, just for clarification, that was an avenue and not a street, correct?
Correct, yes, I misspoke. Yes, it's a
Okay.
north-south road, so it's an avenue, 385th
Don't want to take over
Avenue.
the wrong thing.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. That is correct. Yes, we're only considering accepting 385th Avenue.
Okay, can we get a motion? Commissioner Johnson?
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And I have a
Discussion?
question for Chris.
Yes.
I can't tell how long either of these roads are on my map.
Good question. So
and I
they're
wanna
both about a mile long.
Okay.
Currently, 125th, County Road 125, dead ends at a residential driveway in Old Farmstead. So that's one reason why it behooves us to vacate it as a county road. It doesn't serve a county purpose because of the fact that it ends at a residential driveway. So 385th Avenue would connect two county roads, actually two CASA roads east of the Sauk Center.
Sure. That's logical. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we did this in Melrose Township too, didn't we?
Yes.
Like last year.
Yep.
Same kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yep.
That is correct, yes, very similar.
I didn't assume that you'd know that, so that's why I deferred to the chair.
Yeah, I think we just, at our Melrose meeting, we just had that
Yes.
on the agenda.
That was a final contract that agreed to the terms of actually executing that swap.
And that seemed to go on like for a year.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, by the time you do the public hearing and first we had the meeting with the township and
A lot of times townships negotiate, want some kind of work done, make sure that the road that we're giving them is in good condition. So we would be giving them a paved road. 385th Avenue, for those that don't know, is a gravel road. So for practical purposes, we think that we're giving them a better road than we're accepting. But there is some funds programmed, like I said, in 2027 to do some work on 385th Avenue.
Don't make that a habit of giving away better things than that.
It should be fair and equitable, right, for both sides.
Well, trust me, this dead end has been kind of an issue on and off. At least I've gotten calls on numerous times on, so I think it will fit the township scope a lot better than it does the county at this point, so.
Yeah, we think so too.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and this is to set the public hearing, correct?
Yeah, this would be set the public hearing. I don't know if the motion included, but Wednesday, June 10th, still acceptable date?
That was what I meant.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, all right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you. We'll move right along. The next item I have is consider approving a professional services agreement for the design of a roundabout at CASA 133 and 4th Avenue in Sartell. So this is a project that my predecessor was successful in getting some federal funds for construction. The intent is to construct this project next year. 4th Avenue is the road, for those not familiar, that would go past the new Niron Magnetics factory. So we need to address that intersection with our CASA 133. We invited a handful of highly qualified engineering consultants to propose on this project. We only received 3 proposals in return. All very, very good proposals, very equal in a lot of respects. All things considered though, we did select KLJ Engineering. Their fee gave us the best value overall out of the 3 proposals that we received. So it is my recommendation is to enter into an agreement with KLJ Engineering LLC for the design of the roundabout at CASA 133 and 4th Avenue. Oh, I will add that they did recently complete a project for us that we constructed last year in St. Joe, one of those roundabouts. KLJ designed that. So they do have a good history with the department.
Okay. Be looking for a motion.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Commissioner Persky.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Further discussion?
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman, as a side note, I think I asked once, and I don't think I ever got it. Can someone provide a list of how many engineer services that we do in a year for the last couple of years? I know that's an issue in some counties where there's a lot of external engineering work, so I just would be curious what that is.
Yeah, I don't know that number, but yeah, I can certainly bring that back.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the professional services agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Good. That's all I have for you, unless there's any questions that I can entertain at this time.
Anybody have any?
Well, Chris, I appreciate your time sitting here, but it was 2.5 hours. I don't know if, maybe when you got things that are going to be short, maybe if we can move you up on the agenda, that might help. Just, I know you've got a lot of things coming at you, because I've got some of those things coming at you. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
We can work on that in the future. I was able to bring my laptop and do some work while sitting in here, so it wasn't all wasted time for me. So I appreciate that, though. All right. Thank you.
And just for probably an update on 157 is the trestle bridge is almost completely removed at this point, correct?
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of interest in that old structure. So maybe not as old as a lot of people think. It was reconstructed around 1936. So it's not the original structure, but still old enough. It does contain creosote. So in the eyes of the MPCA, it needs to be disposed of properly. So our subcontractor is handing that over to Vite Materials, and it's being deposited in an approved landfill.
And we kept the two metal bridge spans, correct?
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
Any
Chris.
bats or butterflies?
Not at this time.
The bridge spans are out at Quarry Park. They're all out there. They're huge.
Yeah, it's amazing when you drive by it, you know, it doesn't look that big, but when it starts coming down, it's pretty big. All right, that brings us, I believe, to the end of our agenda. So the next item would be issues by commissioners. Commissioner Bertram, would you care to start?
Mr. Chairman, sure. First, on the flag issue, sure, there's not going to be any interest, but I would say, again, just like the rifle shotgun, we owe it to hear from the people. I think we should have a discussion. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass, but at least there's a discussion. So I certainly am in favor of having that before the board and having a discussion on it. Sartell cleanup, Commissioner Persky and I were involved in getting the hazardous waste to go there for that cleanup. It was just unbelievable, the number of people that brought items for the cleanup, garbage and other items, and the hazardous waste. So Commissioner Persky, I think, has asked or is going to be asking the quantities of what we collected there, so that's good. Mike shared with his absence yesterday, and I'm sure he didn't have a chance to follow up, but question I had was, obviously, Godspeed on everything, but I just wanted to make sure that Jill is going to be here in office during that absence, that we can make sure that we have staff and everybody else. And then I assume for full days, or you'll get back to me on that.
We typically will have one of us in. It's not 100%, but we follow the county policy on the workplace. So.
And to be honest with you, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what that policy is, so maybe share that with me, Mike, what that policy is. And then the sales tax legislation, any update on that?
No update really, other than both in the House and the Senate. The new bill has been introduced, and we've had reports from our delegation that they're all talking about it. So haven't talked to anybody for a few days about it, though.
Something that, Mr. Chairman, that I suggested, you know, and I still think would be effective is there's so much disarray down there. And then when we've talked about this issue, even our own legislators aren't talking to each other about this often enough, in my opinion. So I think if we did a weekly email at this point from the board saying, how are things going? You know, is there something we can do to kind of keep it top on mind, to keep the legislators kind of, if you want to call it pressured, keep it top of their mind of what's going on here, because this is critical, I think, for us. And if it ends up not happening, it won't be because of the issue, it'll be because it got lost in the dust. So I would strongly encourage that somehow somebody coordinate a weekly, and then as it gets closer, every other day. Because, again, we all know how this goes. You're inundated with things, and when you see an email, you react to the email, and you're gonna stop somebody and say, where's that at? What can we do to get this in? And boom, boom, and within, 15 minutes, it's either gonna happen or it's dead. So I think it behooves us to keep this front and center, and then from the entire board that show the importance of it, is what I would strongly suggest. The congressional directed spending items were announced a week or two ago. I was a little surprised, and I guess, again, there's so much, we're inundated with so many things. I was a little surprised that we really only submitted 2 items. We're in 2 congressional districts, and that's on us. We can't blame anybody else for that. I think we should look to have more in play with 2 congressional districts moving forward, because Benton got a big piece that, they're a small county, and basically, I think they got it because they asked for it. So we need some things. The Painesville Fire Hall was one, and I can't remember what the other one was that we asked for. But anyway, we only had 2 items, and I don't know that either. I don't know what the status is of that. I don't think. And then we'd be remiss not to recognize Miss Brown, our new employee in the office, who was in the room before, but I think she's watching. So just to make her blush too, welcome Miss Brown. That's it.
Commissioner Persky?
Well, Commissioner Bertram, I'm going to make you blush because you received an award from the Highway 23 Coalition. We had our annual meeting this past Friday before, since our last meeting anyway, and Jeff was given an award for his service to the Highway 23 Coalition, serving on the years that he did and also serving for chair. So we thank you for that and congratulate you on that award.
Thank you.
As far as the congressional directed spending, we did not have one. However, out in DC this past week, we are getting hopefully the $7 million for 322nd, which is a project that is for the townships. And of course, that's huge for the county because that's an issue that we've been dealing with and hearing about the headaches out there. And hopefully that's going to be moving forward. Also, Benton County was able to get a build grant, hopefully, for Mayhew Lake Road, which is a positive for them, and that'll be a nice improvement out there by the high school and connecting that area. We talked about the river crossing out in DC and bringing that forward. Mentioned the thing about the airport, as I talked earlier. One other thing is we're looking at changing the rate of money that comes to the counties from the feds. Right now, the counties, when the county money comes to the state and then gets redistributed, we only get about 15%, and we'd like to see that increase to 25%, which, again, if you take a look at the numbers of roads and bridges that local government provides, it's huge, and local government just doesn't have the funds to keep up. Also, good news, we did receive a human trafficking grant, if you've seen that, $955,000, and that's going to allow us to keep those programs going for investigators, victim support, legal work, and so it's an ugly issue, but it's an issue we are dealing with. So we're grateful that we're able to, continue that program on human trafficking. So, yeah, a lot of things going on, and there's Commissioner Bertram also mentioned great success with the work with environmental services and household hazardous waste. Yeah, the line was quite long out there, and I'm glad we can get that stuff recycled instead of in the trash cans.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. A couple of things. First of all, the AA plus bonding just didn't happen. And I'd like to congratulate and thank administration and finance and board colleagues who managed budgets over the last number of years to have that impact on healthy reserves and responsible financial management, stable finances. I think it's important to note that these things just don't happen out of the blue. People worked hard to get it to happen, and I thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to mention is the comp plan. The city's 2025 comp plan will be presented at an open house tomorrow night from 4 to 7 at River's Edge Convention Center. I'd encourage as many people of the public and commissioners to attend that. The third thing, and I did speak with Ben Anderson about this, they did a really nice job presenting the master plan for Quarry Park a month or so ago. I understand that we may look at that on May 12th, and what I'd like to get prior to that is the public response to that open house to all of us as commissioners, so we can sort of get a feel for what the public was thinking. Some of us have gotten 1 or 2 emails, but that's about it. So it'd be nice to have that in hand prior to the meeting when the plan is presented to us. And the fourth thing I really didn't plan on talking about, but I would like to for a minute, and that is the flag issue. And Mr. Bertram brought it up now, so let me say this. I just want to put this in a little perspective and encourage the county to focus on issues that lift residents and support our lives economically and socially, rather than engage in what I'm going to call culture wars at the moment that really create more division. The seal on the 1983 flag was insensitive to Native Americans, and Native Americans are Minnesotans. It looked too busy. It was confusing. The 13-member state emblem redesign commission was formed in 23. Those 13 people were architects, artists, came from all different kinds of backgrounds, and they were appointed from both Democrat and Republican parties. There were 4 state legislators on that committee, 2 senators and 2 representatives, and they were evenly divided amongst Democrats and Republicans as well. They worked to create a work plan, engage the state in a design contest. 2,100 people submitted designs that they reviewed, and there were many opportunities for public input into that design. Now, the flag that was done in 1892 in a best state flag contest had 6 members of Minnesota Women's Auxiliary Board led by Florence M. Greenleaf, and they created the Minnesota flag. It flew over Minnesota for more than 100 years. The newest flag was made official in 2024 and was, in fact, an inclusive process, but it may be modified over the next number of years. I have no doubt. I think it just presents cause for unnecessary division, and God knows we have enough of that in our world. The current design represents the unity of all Minnesotans around a stylized drawing of the state of Minnesota, the lakes and the rivers in blue, the Star of the North. There's a connection to the state capital. There are all kinds of considerations. I just think that one of the things that's happened is we've seen some municipalities and other government entities deal with this, and in some cases it just leads to name calling, stereotyping, all kinds of division, and we really shouldn't have that. I believe that we have an opportunity to stay above the fray in this, that it's not really in our lane, and that we should support, as an agency of the state, we should support the decisions that some good people made on our behalf. And I will repeat, I think there was lots of public input into this. I think we should fly the officially recognized flag of the state of Minnesota because it's our state and our flag currently. So I don't think we should do anything with that issue, with apologies to Aaron, who I have no issues with.
All right, I guess we're up to me. I just had a question. So, a while back we had this logo thing. Where is that kind of at?
Mr. Chair, the comments that came from the board at the work session about the logo have been given to those that were working on the design. And recall at one point we were going to have we were going to have a work session today, but the recruitment for the new administrator kind of superseded that. We were going to put it on that work session agenda.
Okay.
So it's just been delayed, but I think we're pretty well close, ready to bring it back to the board.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I hadn't seen anything for a while.
Yep.
And then the other thing is Thursday night is the town officers meeting in Freeport with chicken dinner. Ms. Persky, I'm assuming you're going to make that work either way, but.
I am.
And then next Monday evening, we're going to have the joint meeting with Planning Commission and Board of Adjustments and the commissioners to go over those items and kind of have a long conversation about, being a participant if you're on the committee and where the county's at with ordinances and things like that. So, and then we also, some of us have the Tri-County Solid Waste meeting on Thursday as well. So, other than that, I had one thing for Shelley, but she's not here. I'll just get a hold of her. If there's nothing else for the good, I will call this meeting adjourned.